All right, welcome back to This Week in Niche Pursuits News. My name is Jared Bauman. We've got several interesting stories to go through with you this week, starting with a story behind the story. You might have heard about that crazy big $2.4 billion fine that the European Union levied on Google fairly recently. But today we've got the story of the couple and their website that was behind a lot of it. So we'll go into depth there and talk it through. A lot of interesting parallels for site owners here in the US and other countries. In other news, we have a new article out by Rand Fishkin all about how you can increase your visibility in responses generated by AI. It's very interesting stuff that he goes into depth on. And then finally, we've got a study that's just been released showing that AI overviews in this one particular niche are factually incorrect almost 50% of the time. We'll get into that one. Beyond that, stick around for side hustle updates and, of course, some weird niche sites. And joining me today in the co-host chair is Brooks Conkle. Brooks, how you doing?
Jared, good man. I'm ready to rock, ready to chat.
Look at you. You're all falled out. You got your bright orange, kind of what do they call it? Dusty orange shirt on. You're rocking the theme here.
I'm ready to go, man. It's fall. It's fall time. It's Halloweenish time. It's trick or treat time. I'm ready to go.
True story. We are recording on Halloween afternoon, evening. So if the doorbell rings over at Brooks's place, we suspect it's probably the first of many trick or treaters to come.
That's exactly right. First round of trick or treaters.
But the news doesn't stop, does it? So we got to go in and we've got to talk about the news today because it doesn't stop for any holiday. Hey, first story here. It's titled "The Couple Who Took on Google and Cost the Tech Giant $2 billion." So, wow, this is a really interesting one. Many of you will have heard about this, but maybe not this, like what I'm calling the story behind the story. So let me kind of give an overview here, and then Brooks, I kind of want to get your thoughts on this. So this BBC report covers I guess, a significantly long legal battle between Siobhan and Adam Raff, founders of the price comparison website Foundum, and obviously Google. So this conflict began when Foundum launched in 2006. So this goes back quite a ways. They were disrupted during their launch by a search penalty from Google that severely impacted its visibility and its revenue. Despite appeals to Google, the site remained buried in search results, which the couple suspected was due to anti-competitive practices. So some parallels to what a lot of site owners have been talking about right now. Fast forward to 2017, these suspicions were validated when the European Union, or the EC, ruled that Google had unfairly promoted its own comparison shopping service while demoting competitors. So that resulted in that record $2.4 billion fine. Google contested that decision for 7 years, but ultimately lost its appeal in this year, 2024, as upheld by the European Court of Justice. So here's kind of the crazy part. Foundum had already closed by then. They closed by 2016 due to the financial impact here. So this couple is now pursuing civil damages against Google, and that trial is scheduled for 2026. They believe Google's practices still favor its own services, a concern under ongoing investigation by the EC. And this, I guess, really what we're getting into is obviously we've got the DOJ case, but now we've got this case as well. So we're kind of trying to highlight and bring to these different cases that are being levied against Google. And this case could stand as a landmark decision in regulating big tech, not only the fine that was already levied in Europe, but then, any future ones that they're bringing to the table. I mean, it's a big story. It's obviously one that's kind of 20 years in the making of sorts. Has a lot to do with what we're talking about right now with the DOJ trial and other things. Brooks, what are your thoughts on this?
Do you ever get stuck in your business and wish you had someone you could turn to for solutions? Well, I think you should consider joining the Niche Pursuits community. You'll get weekly calls with experts on growing a successful online business, and you'll also get assigned a small mastermind group where you can solve your business problems as well as share your wins. For a limited time, I'll let you try out the Niche Pursuits community for just $1. Go ahead and use coupon code PODCAST at checkout in order to get your first month for just $1. Again, that's coupon code PODCAST. Go to community.nichepursuits.com today and see what it's all about. And maybe I'll see you on our call next week. Thanks a lot.
So my first impressions when I read this article, two immediate takeaways. One was that, wow, this is almost 20 years ago, and people have been fighting the same battles with Google for a long time. Was my first takeaway. Like, oh, the problems we're seeing are nowhere near new.
Yep.
So that's takeaway number one. Takeaway number two was if you're going to sue a giant tech company or whatever, it takes a very long time to play out any sort of decision. So that was my second takeaway. Um, Also, I guess I'll say third, I was really interested. I was like, did these people get money? Like, did they get part of this $2 billion? And the answer is no, they did not. And then, so that's in the future in a different case, apparently, 2026. So, yeah, that was my takeaway.
I don't know, where did the money go? I mean, where did the $2.4 billion go to? If it took advantage of others, if it unfairly promoted its own comparison shopping service while demoting competitors, shouldn't the competitors have been the ones that got the money?
That's a really good question. I'm like, legal fees? Legal fees probably probably going to eat up a giant majority
Yeah.
of that. But no, that's a really good point. Like, would they not get anything because their company doesn't exist anymore? Or
And maybe they
I
did.
don't
I
know.
think the point that we're underlining is we don't even know who got the money. But the point is,
Yeah,
Google did lose the lawsuit. They did lose their appeal. They did lose $2.4 billion. And I was going to try to do some math before the podcast, try to figure out how big of an impact that was. I mean, I don't know. We can just leave it at that. 2.4 billion is a lot of money, no matter who you are. But I think to your point, like, it's good perspective. Like, this isn't new news. It's 20 years, almost 20 years old now. And I think another thing I took away from it is it's like, you know, these folks are fighting the good fight. They really did believe that this was something that was unfair, and they really led the charge behind a lot of what the European Union or European Commission, sorry, came down on. And it's interesting because people, jokingly talk about, hey, could there be lawsuits for some of the different things that Google has been doing? And it kind of highlights the DOJ trial. Like, I don't know, maybe just the US is a little bit slower. We've seen the US be slower in a lot of situations, right? We had GDPR, and we've had AI, different fines or different levies or different programs that are put into place in Europe, and we're slower behind them here in the US. Like, I wonder if the DOJ trial is almost a catch up for what we're looking at here with this case that, the expose in the BBC is all about this Siobhan Adam Raff, but really so many website owners getting wrapped up in this big loss by Google.
very, very possible. That's a good point that we seem to move slower than Europe. Yeah, the EU tends to be out on the forefront of these items faster than us for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was just speaking at a conference, DMLA, Digital Media Licensing Association, and without going too much into detail about a whole sub industry that a lot of these people listening, aren't involved in, but it's really in the digital media licensing, right? So like photographers, image owners, licensing and stuff. But same conversations there, where Europe is quicker to react to some licensing lawsuits and challenges than we are in the US. And a lot of the conversation there was about the way the U.S. is following suit there. So it just feels very similar to that, like DOJ, European Commission and stuff. So why feature this story? Why talk about this? A couple of things, like you said, it's a slow moving battle. And this battle that the DOJ is levying, and I'm not an attorney, so I don't know how similar they are, how much they have crossover, but it does take a while. But we are seeing that happen over here in the U.S. And I think maybe encouraging is the fact that ultimately, much came of this over in Europe, and perhaps ultimately much can come of that here in the US as well, as long as you hang on long enough to be around, which unfortunately this story didn't have that happy ending to it.
Yeah, maybe they'll get a big payout in a couple of years. Hopefully that trial does not take another whatever number of years, for that case to ensue.
Interesting,
the civil trial.
Because you're right, the civil trial, I mean, I don't want to open a can of worms, but I mean, it's interesting. It says in this article, quote, the Raffs are also pursuing a civil damages claim against Google, which is due to begin the first half of 2026. But when or if a final victory comes for the couple, it will likely be a Pyrrhic one. I don't even know how to pronounce that word. They were forced to close, found them in 2016. So, I don't know. Does this open the door for individual companies, individual businesses, individual people to sue Google for, egregious actions that were taken? I mean, in essence, we're looking at a situation where the European Commission said, you did this, it was harmful to your competitors, which then opens the door for individual competitors to go back and sue. Again, we're not lawyers. We don't know, but are we starting to see the beginnings of that in Europe, which then preclude the beginnings of that here in the US? It's very fascinating and interesting from a high level.
Time will tell. Time will tell. Yeah.
So much of this, time will tell. In the meantime, speaking of time, let's move on to this next story, which also is very interesting, but on a much more practical level, I'll say. I think this this European Commission, expose is one thing. This is a lot more tactical for people listening. And this is by Spark Toro. So Rand Fishkin came out with this article last week. It's titled, How Can My Brand Appear in Answers from ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, and other AI/LLM tools. And basically, he goes through a fairly long article exploring how brands can do just that, increase their visibility in responses that are generated by AI and other large language models. And I think, it's been a lot of people's minds, right? Like, hey, if Search GPT, if people are going to go to Chat GPT, if all the Claude, all these models are coming out, like, how do we make sure our brand shows up in there? And so he went in and started to explore that. I mean, he kind of sets the foundation. Unlike traditional SEO, which relies heavily on backlinks and keyword use, LLMs operate based on the frequency and context of word associations found in their training data. And so mentions of your brand or content in relevant contexts around the web are crucial for appearing in these LLM generated answers. We're not going to go through the whole story here because it's long. It's a transcript basically of a video, about a 10-minute video. I think I'll highlight maybe one of my takeaways. I'd like to hear some of your takeaways. I think he was
All
very
right.
tactical. He said secure mentions. So get your brand mentioned by contributing to high authority websites, collaborating with publications, and inviting critics or content creators to experience and write about your brand. And so it's almost different. Like, we've almost built websites based on reacting and responding to other people's products and other people's stuff, how to do this, how to do that. And he was almost advising from a high level to almost invite the opposite of that. Get your brand mentioned in as many places as possible. What were some of your takeaways from this?
So I read through the article, and my takeaway was this sounds a lot to me like big, high level strategic SEO. In the new age of what I like to call web optimization. I mean, you're just optimizing for the web. At the end of the day, like, collaborate with high authority brands. Okay, like, get mentions in those. Okay. So maybe it's not links, and he mentions that in the article. He's like, I'm not talking about links per se, like backlinks, but still getting brand mentions. Uh, I would have to imagine even makes sense for SEO. And then obviously, if you're mentioned in brands or big brands, or you're on a list, I would have to imagine there's a chance of someone Googling your brand more, which is basically like all about building brand. It was kind of my takeaway is like, there's nothing crazy different. You still have to do work and collaborate with authority sites, talk to them, network with them, get them to work with you. So to me, like, that's actually the harder piece, I think, even of like SEO. So it's kind of like one in the same in that sense.
Yeah, I think Rand echoed a lot of what you're saying. Like, in many ways, it is harder, where it certainly is different, right? He actually, in the article here I have up right here, he kind of goes into an example. When I search for fine dining restaurants in Seattle, Canlis is the first result. Altura is the second. Here's what I would do if you're attempting to get into these results. And he kind of goes through, this idea of, I would look at all the places on the web that talk about fine dining and restaurants in Seattle. Fine dining and restaurants in Seattle. And he kind of shows you exactly how to do that. He talks about how, hey, here's something mentioned in Eater, Seattle. He's like, yeah, that's going to be hard to get. It's a long
Mm-hmm.
PR process and a pitch process, but is it worthwhile? Yes, but there's other ways to go about it. He then gives you an example of how he's asking ChatGPT for what's used in the training data. He asks it for a scoring system. It's really interesting. It's a good deep dive and a good read. I think that maybe, if anything, it helps underscore that, to your point, high level, it's the same process. Again, very, very high level, but there are nuances that are significantly different now. And getting mentioned in there is different tactically, even if from a high level theoretical, it really just is about making sure your brand is in the places these LLMs pull from. That's kind of what we're
Yep.
talking about.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So I guess, yeah, hopefully I made that clear. Like, it's not obviously it's not the same thing, but at that big picture level, you are doing, like, of course you want to collaborate with large brands, right? So that makes sense for the LLM. If you're doing SEO, of course you want to do the same thing. Like you also want to get mentioned in that article. You would prefer a link, right? You want a link for sure back to your website. And maybe you can still get that link, but the link potentially will help you in this scenario as well. So it's kind of looking at it at a web optimization, frame of view, and not maybe just, very, very tactical and slicing it up into
Yeah.
small pieces. Yeah. It was great article.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, I will tell you, I could nerd out in this article for quite a long time.
Yep. Yep.
I could
Yep.
spend the whole hour talking about this. Part of me wants to reach out to Rand and have him come on the podcast on a Wednesday session and just talk
That'd
about
be
this.
cool.
Maybe I will do that. Yeah, it's a really good read. It's very practical. A lot of the articles we feature on a Friday, a lot of the news topics are a little bit more esoteric, like the first one, maybe the third one we're going to get into. This one's super tactical. So we'll include a link in the show notes. I think that it's worth the read for anyone doing SEO, anybody listening who wants to make sure their brand appears in these models and is curious about exactly how to do that. Hey, let's jump into our third topic. This is a little bit, I guess it's kind of all Google in the news. Oh, this one wasn't really Google specific, I guess, but the first and the third ones are. This is an article that, well, I mean, how many weeks can go by before we go back to talking about AI overviews, right? So we had first the botched launch of this. We then had, as a part of the botched launch, we had issues when it comes to glue on pizza. We had issues with it representing things wrong. Well, here's an interesting story that a study that was done by the College Investor and Robert Farrington. He's over at the collegeinvestor.com. It's titled Google AI Inaccurate in 43% of finance related searches. And this was released middle to end of the month here in October. Boy, that's a large number, by the way. 43% of finance-related searches. Basically, he starts the article by saying Google AI overviews are misleading or inaccurate in 43% of finance-related searches, according to our study. This is really harming Americans' finances. It's especially bad when it comes to tax and financial aid related queries. He kind of talks about how over the years they've seen inaccurate financial advice, but when it comes to search, they're used to, historically, that's been a way for users to find the correct information until now. And he kind of goes into depth basically on here are the key issues he's talking. So he kind of identifies how they labeled the incorrect answers 3 ways: either misleading, missing key information, or flat out incorrect. And so then he kind of segues into it. He says that out of the 100 results they looked at, 57 were correct and 43 were inaccurate for one of those 3 reasons. 12 of them were completely incorrect, and the 31 others were either misleading or missing key information. So then he broke it down a bit. Where do they tend to get it right? They tend to get it right for basic 101 level finance questions, such as what is or how to. They get it wrong. They struggle with anything that has nuance. And then he goes on to point out which is most of personal finance.
Right.
That's a bit harsh, but most of the incorrect answers involve navigating more complex tax topics, investing topics, student loan topics. He said he was surprised by how accurate they seemed to be on recent trending topics, which I would agree with. He said Google did not respond to when they reached out for comment, but has commented previously on this topic to Business Insider, where they said, quote, vast majority of AI overviews provide high quality information. So 43% with a lot of nuance behind it, as you would expect from any sort of finance person. That's a shockingly high number.
It's pretty wild. So Robert's a legit guy. I think he writes for Forbes as well. He actually I was just actually at an event with him, and I actually majored in personal finance. So this is like this is a near and dear, not personal finance. I majored in finance. This is a
you personally majored in finance.
Yeah, exactly. I personally did major in finance. And apparently, if you're in the industry, you have to say finance. I don't. I say finance. I'm not in the industry. So, but this is a problem. So I read this article. This one's a problem. None of the info before, if I'm honest, bothered me. I was kind of like, I don't care about glue on pizza or stones or whatever, and how many. I didn't care because I was like, obviously, that's common sense. Like, you're just trying to trick the AI here,
right? And that was one of the arguments. Like, that was one of the arguments Google used. Like, our inaccuracies are for queries that people don't actually search for. That was kind of what they went back on. So,
Right, right. So if they're giving AI results for this type of stuff, and so Robert's been one of the people that I've kind of been following on the student loan stuff, because the student loan stuff is kind of a fiasco because there's changes, there's hold up, there's court. This is what you have to do. There's like real decisions and things, decisions for people to make. It is affecting their lives. And so if an AI answer is going to give you information and it's not correct, and someone takes that, just whatever they see it, okay, this is what Google says, and it's absolutely not correct and it affects your life in a big way. Yeah, that's not good. And the fact is, we have a personal finance a financial literacy problem in the US already.
Yeah,
That's a
right.
separate topic, but something I'm kind of passionate about, and I know Robert is as well. That's a problem. So you have people that already don't maybe understand certain concepts that are going to take an answer and kind of follow follow some guidelines. That's not good to get more than, I don't know what percent would be right. Maybe more than 0% is not good for personal finance information, but 43% obviously is way off and way high. So
This delves into the YMYL topic, right? And we long surmised before AI overviews was released. Remember, before that it was SGE, Search Generative Experience. We surmised like there's got to be a different filtering process, we'll call it, whatever word you want to use, right? There's got to be a different approach to YMYL. Your money, your life, your money. That's the M part of YMYL. It's half of YMYL, your money. Maybe we should call it personal money. Sorry, bad joke. Your money, your life queries would have to be treated differently by AI overviews, would it not? But it would appear that if it is, it's more inaccurate than other factors of AI overviews or other segments or other niches. And to your point, like finance is one of those topics that people want to Google and not have to dive into and not have to research because they kind of want the answer. It's a small segment of the population that kind of wants to deep dive it. And so it's even more egregious when we're talking about people's money because it's something that's so highly personal. It's very interesting that Google thinks they can give an AI overview for something that is, as Robert pointed out, so nuanced. Every question has nuance to it because it's so based on on your personal situation. And then that their answer is inaccurate, wrong, or misleading 43% of the time. So there's so many things going there.
And not okay, and not to play the other side of the coin and defend Google necessarily, but I guess in theory, if there is no AI overview, there could also be websites with incorrect information as well. So I will throw that caveat out there, is that it doesn't guarantee that if it was just websites that all of that information is going to be 100% correct either.
Yeah, but Google supposedly solved that with EEAT. When it comes to
Sure.
YMYL topics, they supposedly solved this by saying, when it comes to YMYL topics, we are going to be
Yeah.
very, very honed in on making sure that every result has strong expertise, strong
Good point.
experience. I mean, I'm saying supposedly solved because we all know that's a hot dumpster fire mess as well. But they
Right.
supposedly, in their world, solved that problem. So they could just rely on their organic search results to deliver definitive, clear answers that are truthful in theory.
Yeah, good point. And I would yeah, and now it's interesting. Obviously, like Reddit's going to be up there, so obviously in a forum you're going to have all kinds of information too, and differing people's opinions and thoughts and whatnot. So
Is this one of those, if you can't beat them, join them?
if you, maybe that's my point there. Yeah, but just I do think if you're going to give a top of the SERP answer from your giant multi-billion-dollar tech company, that you might want to do a little better than 60% correct.
And
I guess.
you could say, from Google's side, like, oh, well, people know it's an AI overview, right? They know it's AI generated. Like, they know that if it's about personal finance, I'm learning
There you go.
personal finance, you should do your own research, right? But first off, I think a lot of people outside of our little world don't really realize much about AI overviews. Second off,
Yep.
the
I don't,
word
yep.
AI, the buzzword AI that AI is now, is so kind of overused that people are saturated to it, and they're so I got to imagine a lot of people are honestly just paying attention to what it says and not worrying about anything else.
I think so too. I've noticed myself kind of related, but just on searches, just skimming multiple things if I need a short answer, and just skimming highlighted answers and saying, oh, okay, and just getting a consensus on something. Maybe
Right.
not even I need an exact answer, but
Mm.
okay, that matches up. I see
Mm-hmm.
like I see 3 highlights in the SERP. And that's an interesting way that I'm kind of, I don't know if that's newer for me as a searcher or if I've always done that. I honestly don't know.
It's I would love to explore that. That's a whole other topic. I do
Yep.
understand where you're coming from on that. I feel you on that. I do have one more question. Who's this Robert guy? Because here's a funny story. I was getting the agenda ready today, and I was talking with Spencer about some other stuff, and I was like, "Oh, hey man, we got a couple topics today on the agenda. Like, do you think we should go this one or this one?" He popped in. He's like, "Definitely, like this, like that." He's like, "But I replaced that. I had the search engine journal story for this," and he's like, "No, you got to give Robert's story the one with the credit." And I'm like, so and now you're telling this Robert guy. Seems like everybody knows Robert. Seems like he's a really good guy. So props to Robert. A lot of shout outs here for you on the podcast. It sounds like.
Shout out to Robert. Yeah, so I met him at at an event called FinCon,
I was gonna
and
say
that
it must
may
have been
be
FinCon because it's down in your area.
that may be where maybe Spencer's met him there too. Potentially
He went
there,
to one maybe a year or two ago, if memory serves me correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was last year for sure. I met Spencer last year at FinCon, but I know Robert's like a long time FinConer, and he's had this brand a long time, and he's a smart cookie in the world of money and personal finance. So
Got to get him on. We'll get him on. Man, I'm just making a long list of podcast guests here. This is great.
there you go. Yeah.
Okay, that about does it for us today. I will touch just for those of you who are listening, who are like, you guys did not talk about it. I know. So I'm just going to mention, there was a major Google Publishers event this week, earlier in the week. And let me just tell you, Niche Pursuits listeners, that we have so much content on that coming up over the course of the next couple weeks that we didn't even bother touching on it in the news because of the amount of content we're going to be bringing you. We're going to be bringing you interviews from people who were inside that event.
Nice.
Specialized hour-long interviews with several people who were inside that event. We're going to interview them. We're going to hear what they had to say. We're going to get their insights, their takeaways. So if you want to hear about that event, we didn't talk about it today because it warranted so much more than what we have time for. We will be publishing starting very soon on that. I mean, very soon, perhaps as early as next week. So stay tuned for upcoming episodes of Niche Pursuits podcast because we will be talking about that. And that is about as much as I've ever teased future episodes, I think, ever on the podcast before.
Hey, you got me, man. You got me. I'm ready to listen. I just heard, I'm not going to say whatever this stat is. I just heard literally on a Niche Pursuits call earlier, someone teased and mentioned something about the amount of coding at Google that might be that they have AI assisted with their company coding. Apparently it was mentioned on their earnings call. I don't know. I just heard that today for the first time. You may already know about that, but I found that very interesting, what I heard earlier. So
I just put together the agenda for the first interview, and let me tell you, there's some juicy topics we're going to get into.
Oh, I'm so excited, man. I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Good.
I can't wait.
So no, we didn't talk about it today. The reason is because we only allocate about a half hour for each week's news on the podcast here on Fridays, and we've got hours of content on that coming up. So we'll talk about it. Don't worry.
Love it.
Hey everyone, Spencer here, founder of Niche Pursuits. Are you adding a new internal link pointing to each article you publish? You should be. Ever find it time-consuming and a bit overwhelming? Remembering what content you publish and deciding which anchor text to use can be a real headache. What if there was a better way? Well, that's exactly why I created Link Whisper. Simply click Add Inbound Internal Links, and Link Whisper will scan your site in seconds and suggest the most relevant links with appropriate anchor text for your new article. Now simply check the box next to the internal links you want to add, and Link Whisper will add these links for you. No need to go into each article, edit, and add the link. It's already done. No more manual internal link building or guesswork. Just efficient, accurate linking that saves you time and improves your SEO. Transform your content strategy with Link Whisper. Start linking smarter, not harder. Use the coupon code podcast for $15 off. Head over to linkwhisper.com and use coupon code podcast to get $15 off.
Hey, let's transition. Let's talk about our side hustles. I will go first. Let me switch screens here. Today, I'm talking about that Pinterest account. For those of you who haven't been following along or have been following along, basically I took a website that was creamed by the helpful content update and then the subsequent March core update. By the time the March core update was done with it, It ranked for less than 100 keywords and was getting a trickle of traffic. This site is monetized on Raptive. It was earning at its peak about $2,000 a month. It's a niche site in the food space. And in, I think, early summer, probably June, started pinning to Pinterest with it. Obviously, a good Pinterest field. Food does very well on Pinterest. And we got that account to grow to the point where by August, we had earned about $650, if memory serves me correct, from Raptive. And in September, we came in just a couple dollars shy of $2,000 in the month of
That's
September.
awesome.
And it was, ironically, a couple dollars more than the highest earnings it had ever gotten before. So in essence, we were able to kind of completely flip the conversation. And now it's earning more than it ever used to from Google traffic through Pinterest traffic. So I haven't talked about that, though, in about a month. And so we kind of had that initial success. And that's kind of out of the gate. Like the account was getting seasoned, the account was doing well, the account was off to the races. But there's some things that we started doing to the account since then. And so throughout the month of October, I just kind of thought I'd walk through what we were doing, because the first couple months, typically for a Pinterest account, you're just pinning a lot and trying to learn where your account performs well. And right, like, hey, which types of pins do well, which types of pin designs do well, which types of topics in my niche do well. And then you want to double down on the stuff that's doing well and stop doing the stuff that isn't doing well. You want to, hey, is there a correlation in color schemes, in pin designs, in calls to action that's working? The more you can correlate, the more you want to double down on that. So one thing is that we had ended up with, because this is a Pinterest account that was around before. We hadn't pinned to it much, but it was around before. So we finally went back and kind of cleaned things up. So we deleted a lot of irrelevant boards and a lot of irrelevant pins. Again, at the time, 2-3 years ago, we were kind of pinning stuff that was kind of related, but now with a very honed in strategy, we were deleting a lot of those kind of irrelevant pins, or at least pins that now we thought were irrelevant. Every board got a description. So many of the boards were missing descriptions. They were there. They had pins in them, but we went through, and now every board has a really robust, kind of keyword-rich description. And then for the first time at the beginning of the month, first 2 weeks of the month, we really went through a deep evaluation of what was working. And so now we have a whole new round of topics to focus on, basically kind of based on what worked. So that initial success that got us to $2,000 a month, we looked back at it. It's the 80-20 rule. It's like, 2 or 3 of the subtopics we were talking about were leading to most 80% of the results. So we started doubling down on those. We started pinning as well for seasonal topics: food, Christmas, holidays, Thanksgiving. All these holidays are coming up. So we started pinning to that. Honestly, if I'm being honest, we probably should have done that in September. But it is what it is. It's a side hustle. So we got to it in mid-October. So I started pinning about all that holiday stuff as it relates to what we're doing. And then we expanded the type of pin design we were using. So we were only pinning one type of pin design, just one type. And it was just like an image pin. So it's just like, here's an image, go click on it to go learn more. And so now we started, doing collages and kind of a bunch of different types of pin designs as well.
How did you decide to do additional designs? Was that something that based on research, or you just wanted to try some additional stuff?
Honestly, it was a bandwidth thing. We should have been doing different types of designs from the beginning, but to get it off the ground, we prioritized the number of pins we were doing a day with one type of design rather than like trying to do everything. I mean, you get it. Like, you start a new project, you're like, is this going to go anywhere? Like, is this even going to be worth all the time we're going to invest just to see if it goes somewhere? So it's almost one of those things where it's like, this is the simplest way forward. Let's do it. Oh, it's working. Okay, now we can put in the time and the money and the energy to expand the type of designs we're doing.
100% agree. 100% agree. That's actually smart for any listener that's attempting a side hustle. It's like, just get going, take some action, see if you can get some traction. It's kind of what you're saying. If you can't, then either you got to stop or you got to change something. And it sounds like you got traction, and then you're like, cool, now I'm gonna, spread out my fingers and branch into some different, ideas with the hustle. That's great.
And you could say like, well, maybe if you didn't get traction on this, it's because you weren't doing multiple types of designs. But I think to some degree, it's like, you don't need to have like the ultimate success. You just need to see threads that it's working, and you need to kind of figure out what are things like, I don't need to do 25 different types of designs to see if this idea works. I need to pin about this idea, this website, this brand, this concept of the informational content I have. And as long as it goes somewhere, then you could start to expand. But you do want to see a little bit. Otherwise, you can be victim of like building something really big and having it go nowhere, and you put all this time and energy
Yep.
into it, you know?
Exactly. Time, energy, and potentially a lot of money,
Potentially a lot of
maybe,
money.
right?
So,
So,
I
yeah,
mean, and so to be clear, like September almost broke 2,000. Growth
it's
in
awesome.
October for this site has been pretty flat. It's just kind of leveled off. I wish it was still going up. It's kind of leveled off. We have some new pins that are starting to perform really well. Some of those initial pins that caught fire in like August are starting to trail off. So, earnings are still up over September, but not by much. I'm really excited about November and December because that's when like the RPMs go up and just
Yeah.
traffic in this space goes up because everyone's eating more. So,
Yeah. 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 Makes sense.
you know,
Holiday
so
food, man. Yeah.
yeah, it seems like the right time to kind of really put effort towards this and stuff. Yeah, that's my update on Pinterest. It's less of a, ooh, look at how successful it is, and more of like we kind of dug our heels in and did some of the dirty work in October that we'd been putting off because we wanted to see if this idea was even going to work. So here we are 4 or 5 months in, kind of dug our heels in, put in some of the dirty work this month. I'm hoping to report in future months that it's going to pay off.
It's really exciting though, because this is the same site that you basically it got slammed, and you could have, I mean, you could have said, I'm done," but instead you said, "Well, no, like let's figure out different ways to get traffic," and so I mean, that's really inspiring. I mean, that's exciting. Is this the first brand or site you've had that's gotten a lot of Pinterest traffic, or have you had any other site that also
I
has?
mean, back in 2018, 19, and 20,
Okay,
I had several sites that got a lot of Pinterest traffic.
got it,
Like,
got it.
well, I mean, a lot, over 100,000 pages a month,
Heck yeah,
per site,
yeah.
and then Pinterest changed their algorithm. And after that, I never bothered switching the way I did things. I was like, SEO at that time, 2020 was like so much different. I'll say easier.
Yep.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it was just easier to be like, let's just focus on that, and now here we are paying the price for it. But
I heard of this pre Pinterest. I wasn't involved on Pinterest at all. Then I've never gotten a lot of traffic from Pinterest. I mean, we do some. I don't spend a lot of energy. It's just like one of our platforms. But that kind of goes to my thoughts on platforms change, they evolve, and they may come back around. Like it's a
yes,
supply and demand thing. It's
yeah,
like, and like I think when you really start looking at the long term horizon of business, you start realizing that like, hey, just because something stops working, it doesn't mean something else isn't going to work, or it's not going to. Again, at some point, they may need that supply to feed their audience or whatever they're doing as a business because they're trying to figure out how to grow. And so, yeah, it's that's like a newer revelation for me. I think like for me in the online world in this last year, it's like really looking at everything in a big picture like that and just seeing
well,
how it all kind of works together.
I mean, look at Facebook 10 years ago. Facebook was so easy to get organic traffic on. And while it's totally different today than it was 10 years ago, it definitely went through a period where it was a lot of us walked away from Facebook, but now
Yep.
so many people are succeeding with Facebook, albeit very differently, right? Like look at the
Yep.
bonus program, Spencer sharing his success about that. Look at the different ways to use Facebook now, but many would argue Facebook is as easier than it was 10 years ago, but it did go through a trough. It did go through a trough where organic traffic was zero and it was impossible to earn any sort of money unless you were spending money through their kind of boosting or organic or ad platform, right? So to your point, we're kind of in that renaissance era with Facebook as well.
And with Facebook, you're kind of seeing an evolution of their business as well, and the way the feed works, the way the algorithm is working. It's feeding you content from pages and profiles that you may not be connected to. That wasn't like that previously with Facebook. And so that's an interesting thing. And that's a part of the reason why I think, Facebook is paying creators and doing that, because it's like, hey, if you're creating great content, then we want to be able to push it out in a ton of other people's feeds. And so like that's the evolution of business in these platforms. That's just really interesting to me. Yeah.
Well, I'll keep reporting back. I'm hoping great numbers for November and December. Knock on wood. That was
Yeah.
not a
Heck yeah.
that was not a trick or treater knocking on your door. That was me knocking on wood here on my
yeah.
desk.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
In
getting
the name
ready,
of
man.
time, so you can get back to handing that candy out. What
Yeah.
niche site do you niche site? What we'll get to weird niches, folks. What side hustle do you have for us today?
Yeah. So I had talked about this. I think maybe I talked about the idea of this before. I was like, well, I guess I'm going to put this together. So it's called the Local Media Crew. So localmediacrew.com. I put the site together because I was like, well, if I'm going
So
to.
we've seen this site because I remember this picture I have up on screen right now.
Oh, okay,
I
cool, cool. Okay, then
We
I
must have
had the
talked about the
site
podcast because I can't think
launched
about any other time I
then.
would have seen it. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
maybe you had just launched it.
So I think I had just made the site. Yeah, and so the goal wasn't to turn this into a side hustle, but what's happened is like over a few years, I had kind of collected people that are in the similar space to me that like have a local media company or they have a local newsletter for their city, and it's like it's cool to network with those people. It's important, right? And so I've been doing that, and I kind of just been like collecting contacts, and I had them in a spreadsheet and this and that. Um, and so Andrew, my buddy, like me, I talked to him the most, and I said, "Hey, like, let's just like maybe we can get all these people in one spot." And so we didn't really know if it would. I'm going to put air quotes like work, even though the goal isn't to like launch some big brand. But what's happened is we now have it's like close to 20 people that are daily.
Wow.
Yeah, like 20 folks that are in there daily and like sharing information and ideas every day. I've had my brand, my local brand, for almost a dozen years, and I have I have tons of new ideas to try from other people that are doing cool things in their communities. Um, and I'm kind of getting some money for people to come in, right? Which is great. Like because I mean, I guess I could do it for free, but I just don't. I just have this. I don't think people value something that's just
Right.
completely for free. And so I'm like, cool. If you're, if you're serious about this and like pay for this community, I I mean, obviously I'm a little biased because I helped start it, but I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been really great. It's been really fun. And let me tell you what it is. So maybe this gives people if you don't have any sort of local brand, we're using Discord. Like literally Discord is our product. Um so think about what community maybe whatever maybe that spurs ideas from for other folks, but we're literally like they pay to access a group of people that are doing the same thing as them, and I think that's like I didn't know if it would work or not, but it's going to work, and like maybe we'll actually do some outreach to other people as well. But I'm kind of loving the small organic like feel of the group, to be honest. So
Well, you're monetizing community, and that
yep.
is a model nowadays that people are doing. I mean, I guess my question is, I if I remember, well, you say here, we're two Alabama boys who run local media brands, but is this like an Alabama thing, or is it like a nationwide thing that's focused on local? Whatever it is, it's focused on
Yeah.
local.
Yeah, so we have a few international. I think, I think a few folks international. There's somebody on the West Coast in like Oregon. Someone's in Tennessee. Someone's in New Mexico. Yeah, so Andrew and I just happened to meet, and he happened to be 6 hours from me.
Mhm.
Um, Question: do you think I need to make that more clear on our site? In your opinion?
Yes, I do. If you're
Okay,
asking me,
cool.
I
Yep.
think the above the fold is really good. It's all about learn from other local creators, operate a local blog. Like there's nothing in there, but then it goes into you guys being from Alabama, launching the local media crew, and so then I was like, oh, we've got the Huntsville Explorer, we've got the Mobile Rundown. I know both those are cities in Alabama. Shoot, maybe this
Mm-hmm.
is an Alabama thing. So maybe just a little more
Got it.
clarity.
No, yeah, appreciate that. Sorry, listeners, for the side step of getting feedback from Jared there. No, thanks so much.
All good. So 20 members, they're paying per month. And the goal is to increase that or to keep it at 20 or yeah, I'm just curious. Like I
No,
remember last time you
I'm
were on, you're like, I don't know if anyone's going to sign up for this.
exactly. I'm happy to increase. So we had a less expensive price and we actually increased it. And so we have two different options. One is like somebody can pay, I think it's $100 or $97 or whatever for the year. Or we did this thing where they could pay quarterly. And
Mhm.
actually, a lot of people are paying $29 for like quarterly for 3 months. I think I totally get it. People want to hop in and be like, hey, like, what's this about?
Test it
I
out.
would have to I would have to imagine they're gonna stay in. I mean, I'm blown away, right? So but I think I'm happy for it to grow, but I also, if I'm honest, this wasn't an intended business or side hustle. I just said, hey, cool, let's just see if this works. I love the size of the community. I'm
Yeah.
happy for it to grow. I think if we try to grow on purpose, I think we'll have to be very intentional about doing other things and not just letting conversation happen. So I don't know if I want that headache or not. I may just see what happens and see who kind of floats in over time. I'm not sure.
Well, to your point, and almost interestingly, like I know for myself, I pop into the Niche Pursuits community, but I also have other little communities I hang out in. And if you can, I get lots of advice from it, but if like you can kind of almost commit to creating some structure around it and then exchange earn some income from it, like that's pretty
Yep.
compelling. That's a pretty compelling model. People love community and they love environments where they can share about stuff and learn about stuff that isn't necessarily available to everyone, right? Because to your point, like if it's free, it's almost lowers its value instantaneously. But as soon as you're paying, you almost always are willing to give more and learn more.
Actually, funny that you're saying that. So I had started collecting people a few years ago and I started a Facebook group just as a place to house these people and say like, hey guys, you guys are all similar. Y'all can connect. But no real conversation ever, it really came from it. And it was a free group. And now there's this, it's a paid group. Now, yeah, the platform's different. It's Discord, and some people are having to learn Discord, but there's daily chatter. And I guess there's, obviously different channels and stuff in Discord. So like there's daily talk, daily good ideas, daily people landing ad deals and stuff, and people getting excited for other people. And it's cool. It's and yeah, and it's not, you're right. To your point, it's not free.
I used to, for my last business, my editing company, we'd go out and do workshops on the road, and I'd go to a lot of them. I'd host a lot of them. We get people from the area to speak and, gather people in community and stuff. I used to do them for free, right? Because it was just all about kind of, an evening of learning in our industry and our niche. Obviously, with my company being behind it all, we got a lot of exposure. Everybody won. The problem was you get a lot of people, and it would vary, but you get a lot of people who would say, oh yeah, I want to be there and sign up a month out, but they wouldn't come. It's free. What do you have to lose?
Yep.
So at the very tail end of doing these, I started doing something very interesting. I charged you $20 to sign up to come with the promise I'd hand you a $20 bill if you showed up.
That's awesome. $20 back at the door, basically. Oh,
Right
that's
back.
brilliant, man.
All you got to do is show up. And yeah, our attendance in terms of percent of people who signed up to showed up skyrocketed to above 90%. Whereas before that, it was in the 40 to 50% range.
It's brilliant. Oh man, I'm making a note of that. I'm not sure the next time I'll use it,
but it reminded me of it, so I thought I'd share it.
That's great, man. Oh, it's so good.
Cool, awesome. Well, that's encouraging. I can imagine a lot of people can think about that. And again, even if yours isn't local to Alabama, but my initial thought when I was questioning it was like, I wonder in San Diego if I could just get a group of business owners in San Diego together to talk about San Diego. They've got these little BNI, what is it? Business Network Institute or something like that. Like they got these and they're very successful models, right? You've got that model in front of you. And, but there's so many different ways to form community. You can make it like you did around a focus, a local focus, or you can make it about the location and variations of that. So anyways, hopefully inspiring for a lot of people listening. Well, from one inspiring topic to the next, our weird niches, honestly, not always inspiring, but usually pretty inspiring. I hope you can always take something inspirational from it. I will go first. This one is, this took a little bit of a learning curve for me. I'll be honest. This was shared to me by a listener. Thank you. When they first shared it, I was like, what is this? I guess I have that reaction a lot. But if you're from Australia, you will recognize what I put up on the screen instantly. And if you're not from Australia, my hunch is you're just like me. What the heck? The website is spotogame.com.au. Now, this is a website dedicated to the game of Spotto. If you're wondering what it is, let me give you a little overview here. Okay, so I had to go and look this up. So the site promotes a book called Spotto, the Great Australian Card Game. That book is written by the fictional professor Spotty McSpotterson, which is kind of a lighthearted exploration of Spotto's culture. And I'm like, well, what the heck is Spotto? Well, basically Spotto, and forgive me if you're Australian and I butcher this of some degree, but it's a car game you play where like you're going in the car and it's kind of like I Spy, I think, but there's all sorts of variations of it. And it's like a car game that you play. And so it's grown beyond, this website has grown beyond just that. They've got a book, right, by Spotty McSpotterson. So understanding the great Australian game of Spotto requires deep thought and analysis. I can't tell if it's kind of like a joke, like a funny book, or if it's like serious. It says join the movement. So they sell gear. Okay. So you can buy this Spotto gear. And obviously it's very yellow themed. It has something to do with the color yellow. Again, if you're from Australia, I apologize. I probably should have done more homework on this, but I mean, it's a cool website, right? Like, it's got cars flying all over the place. It's got animation everywhere. It's so clean and simple. It's really engaging. And then they have this Spotto gear. So you can, is this the book or is this the game? I think it's the book, $20. And then some different shirts you can buy. Actually, a lot of shirts you can buy. Punch Buggy is dead. That must be an Australian term. That looks like a VW Beetle. And then, so you got all this. Then you got the Blogo, right? So that's the blog. And you can kind of ask a question. They don't have a lot of content here that's been published in a while, but it's all by Dr. McSpotterson. And then they got free stuff, and you can go in and learn the rules of Spotto and all that kind of stuff. So the traditional rules and the variations. And I didn't read that, so I probably should have. FAQ. Just really quickly, I'll share.
I get it. Yeah, exactly. I was looking there. So I think it's replacing punch bug. So when you saw a bug, I guess because there's no more bugs on the road, so you can't punch bug. That's my guess why they're replacing it. So it's, you see a yellow car, you shout Spotto, you punch the arm of the person nearest you. So you used to say punch bug, but now my guess is this game exists because there aren't any bugs, like except for new ones. I wonder if that's a reason. Anyways, that's my guess. You are right.
Number one, I'm looking at the rules here. Number one, you're traveling with a friend or two. Number two, you see a yellow car. Number three, you shout Spotto. Number four, you lightly punch the arm of the person nearest to you. All good. And then there's like variations of the game and stuff. So you're exactly right.
Yeah, man. I think it's replacing punch bug. That's why when you said earlier punch bug is out, I was like, wait a minute. I think I have an idea what this game is.
See, I never played that game as a kid. I played I Spy. I never played punch bug. So man,
my arm still hurts, man, from my older sister. Yeah.
That's why we had you on today, Brooks. I needed you to help bring some I didn't know what this yellow game was. I didn't know what punch bug was. So this is great.
30 years later, man. 30 years later, my arm's still sore. Yeah.
5 minutes into this, we know what this game is about now, thankfully. So at Ahrefs, it's not doing very well. I'd say it's a brand new website. Perhaps. I didn't look it up, but it got its first keyword on June 22nd, 2024. Or I guess it's first estimated traffic. Yeah, same thing for keywords though. So it's got 28 total keywords, but it's a brand new website, right? And so it ranks. We're nowhere near page one for anything. But yeah, you're right. Spotto rules, Spotto car game. I mean, it's within earshot. Look, it's sitting on page 2 or so. So yeah, maybe we'll get there one day. It's brand new.
After this podcast episode.
Well, I was going to say, I was just about to take credit. We're going to be I think we're going to be its first backlink here in the Niche Pursuits podcast. And I don't know if you've checked recently, Brooks, but we're not a bad DR when it comes to backlinks. So
pretty solid. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty fun. So there's someone who's basically taken a game. It sounds like, I don't think they created it. It sounds like they had a fun with it and they made a full website and book and kind of brand around it. Probably not making much, looks brand new, but super interesting. Taking an existing game or a variation of a game. That's what we don't know. Did they make the game Spotto out of Punch Bug?
Punch Bug. That's my guess. That's my guess.
So I guess the question is, they make the game and create a whole brand around it, or they take a game that was already there and create a brand around it. Either way, pretty good idea.
Yeah. Don't know. Yeah.
All right. Over to you.
I'll tell you who is making a lot of money from their website. Is I didn't know this until I looked. I was like, holy smokes, is omnicalculator.com. I know what you're thinking. You're like, another calculator website, a little calculator tool, whatever, man. No, we're talking about like literally hundreds and hundreds of calculators on this website. Started from a guy, I think, that did start with just like his own little calculator tool. And then this thing is like grown and expanded. They have a whole team. Woo. I mean, we're talking, if you need some, exactly. All kinds of features from all those. So I'm assuming that's true. I know tons of websites may actually put that, but I think these guys are definitely actually featured there. Their something about belt sizes, music, chord transposing. I saw biology, personal finance, of course, chemistry, cat pregnancy calculators. I saw a dog crate size calculator, a livestock fence measuring calculator, like literally calculators for everything. And then when I glanced at the traffic, do you have Ahrefs pulled up? I'm curious, like what your tool says.
Oh, I'm glad you
If you
asked.
don't, yeah.
Let me just switch screens here. Again, this used to be a lot easier, folks, until they took away that capability. But I will. I've gotten good at it here. So let's pull it up. You'll be blown away, by the way. This is insane.
So what does that say?
1.9 million keywords for an estimated organic search traffic per month of 7.6 million.
Holy smokes. Yeah. So that's a nice little business.
By the way, these guys, when all the rest of us were getting crushed by the March core update, they went from an estimated organic traffic of 5.5 million up to a peak of 7.7 million, and they've kind of hung there the whole time. So
Interesting.
50% bump in that March core update.
So I wonder if that means Omni Calculator is like a brand of calculators, and other calculator tools that were maybe getting some ranking, fell off during that time, right? Smaller brands that had some organic search or whatever. These guys apparently have like consolidated all this stuff, which is crazy.
They're number 2. This will get you excited or disappointed, Brooks. I'm not sure which one, but their number 2 ranked page on their site is a margin calculator in finance.
So excited about that. So excited. Hey, I'm happy for them, man. I'd have to imagine they're making a good bit of cash. I saw ads for sure once you click through and into the calculators.
Yeah, let's go back.
I didn't, but interesting enough, on the site, I didn't see ads until you click into the calculators,
I was
which is
about to
probably that's probably really, really well done web experience if you think about it. Like there's no ads until you get in there, which makes me wonder if people go straight into these landing pages from Google or whatever, right? For whatever calculator they're searching for, they probably land straight on the calculator. Yeah.
I think it's also interesting. Like, look at this. I just happened to navigate to the coffee calculator, and you're right. There's ads everywhere, right? We got a top ad above the fold. There's no menu here on the site, which is interesting. Is it covering the menu, or is there literally no menu? Or no, this is the menu. Interesting.
Yeah.
Switches. That's a very interesting menu. So it looked to me like an ad. Now we'll stand corrected, but they got a top banner ad. They've got a left sidebar ad. They've got a sticky right sidebar footer video ad. This is interesting. A couple of things, like coffee calculator, created by Luka Zabrowska, MD, PhD candidate, reviewed by Anna Skepanik, PhD, and Alex Ruiz. That's a lot for a calculator, right? Like, talk about bringing in the EEAT.
Yeah. I saw that right before we started recording, and it kind of made me wonder. I was like, what is the process? I didn't dig in and say like, okay, how do you get your calculator approved? Or do those people work with the company? Did this company buy up tools, like buy many small websites? Maybe they've sucked up like other sites and acquisitions. I don't know. Maybe they have the ability to do all of that though, if they want to. I mean, they literally have a pretty sizable business here. This is not a, simple, small niche website. That's for sure.
Right? Like, this is crazy. I mean, I will say that I'm finding their calculator a little hard to use here. It's just spinning. Here we go. Okay, interesting. Wow, that's fascinating. So I'm over here on the right-hand side if you're listening, and it said, what type of drink do you have for coffee, right? And I mean, they must have a list of 1,000 different kinds of coffee. Panera Bread coffee, Pete's Brewed coffee, Pete's Cafe Americano, Pete's Cafe Latte, Pete's Cafe Mocha. Like, you can just, I mean, it's more than the usual calculators we're looking at, which are just a couple of buttons and fields, right?
Yeah, that's a lot, actually. That was kind of overwhelming. When
I know. I was like, man, if you got to brand down the S or T's, like, you got to scroll for a while.
Yeah, maybe if you know what you're doing, you can just type it in. No, you can't. It's only a drop down, isn't it?
It's just a drop down. I mean, what if?
Yeah.
And it's loading slow for me. That could be because I'm streaming. So we'll give them the benefit of the doubt in there. But to your point, and then there's another ad that I didn't even mention before that hadn't loaded yet. So there's a lot of ads on here. Yeah.
They just made like $1 from all these ads just on this one page here.
They did.
Almost.
They did.
Almost. Yeah.
Wow. And so, yeah, again, that's a significant amount of traffic. It's funny because I know why I recognize them. And it's because on a previous podcast, we were looking at a calculator site that someone had brought, a weird niche site. And I remember seeing that they were beating out Omni Calculator for a lot of their certain specific search terms. I wonder if, to your point, that was before that March core update, and I wonder if a lot of them dropped back, but we're kind of looking at some of the competitors they were up against.
Yeah, it's a good question. Are they still outranking them? Because they apparently shot up in March. So
They're
yeah, it's crazy.
DR81. That
Oh, so crazy. Yeah.
Going back to your point, they probably were featured in all those big publications if they're a DR81.
Yep.
It's a good find, man. There's a calculator for everything. I think that's interesting. I see myself diving deep into their keywords and trying to see if I can find any gaps.
Ooh.
Not that I'll do anything with it,
good.
but that's what my mind immediately goes to as an SEO.
What are they missing? Yeah. What's the? Oh, I love it. It's great. It's great. I love having that mind like that. That's thinking. Okay, what are they missing? What's this big? Not. I can't do it because this is a big brand. But like, nah, man. What are they missing that I can capitalize on? Oh, that's awesome.
Gaps?
That's cool.
What are their gaps? Hey, Brooks, that hour flew by. Thank you for joining us again. That was fun. You brought some great stuff. Good side hustle. I can't wait to hear the next update. I mean, you basically launched the website. I think it was that morning last time you were on. You're up to 20 people joining your community now. Like, I can't wait to hear the next update on that.
Yeah, well, great. Now that you're saying that, maybe I'll actually do some outreach so I can try to grow instead of just let it happen.
I've said it many times.
I'm enjoying the group though.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
I've said it many times in this podcast. Like, there is a bit of a drive that you get because you have to talk about your side hustle every week, and you're like, I don't want to show up with nothing, like, so I got to work a little bit this week on my side hustle, whereas maybe you would have taken the week off, or maybe like it. So hosting has its benefits too. I'm just here to tell you. So,
yeah,
you have to face the niche pursuits community next time. You got to have some progress.
a good kick in the pants, man. Good digital kick in the pants.
Yeah. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us here on the podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Again, as I teased, stay tuned. We got a lot of stuff to talk about as it relates to publishers, as it relates to that big Google conference coming up. We'll be addressing that, I'm sure, in future news episodes, but also in future interviews we have on the Wednesday editions of the podcast. Until then, though, have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us.
Hey there, thanks so much for listening to the Niche Pursuits podcast. Did you know that Jared and I are members of a private group called the Niche Pursuits Community? And today I want to share with you how you can join for just $1. The Niche Pursuits Community is a private members area for niche online publishers to mastermind and grow their businesses together. We hold weekly calls live with experts where you can ask questions. These experts share tips on Amazon Influencer, Google Discover, building email newsletters, getting traffic from Facebook, and other strategies to grow your online business. You'll also be assigned a mastermind group of 4 or 5 other people in a similar stage in business as you. Dive deep into your business issues and get your problems solved. If you use coupon code PODCAST at checkout, you'll get your first month for just $1. Go ahead and give it a try. Come join me, Jared, and lots of other digital entrepreneurs inside my private group at community.nichepursuits.com. And be sure to use coupon code PODCAST. I'll see you on the inside.